In the webinar recording you're about to watch, we talk all about AI. What is artificial intelligence? How can you use it to benefit your business? And what are some ways to start thinking about how we partner the AI and human to really create human videos? We also talk a little bit about how BombBomb is considering AI in a future perspective. Enjoy. Good morning, everybody. I've got this nice kind of relaxing, chill music that's welcoming us into this webinar. I'm so excited that you're all here. I know there's a bunch of people waiting to get in, so we're going to give it a few minutes. I'll change our tunes for just a couple of seconds here, because this is the first time I'm ever listening to this song, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Oh, that's fun. There we go. Jason's here. He's already loving the music. He's enjoying it. Okay, so while I'm going to fade that out so we can keep talking a little bit more while everybody hops in here. Welcome. So excited that you were here for the webinar today. That song I was just playing, guess what? Was made with AI. I just put in some stuff. I'll show you this program. It's super cool. It's super fun. That's one of those just really, really fun things that you can do. But I'm really thrilled that you're all here to have this discussion with us. Let me do some of the housekeeping stuff, and then we're going to jump in. This is going to be a really fun, just open conversation today. We've got an amazing guest. We've got some people helping us out to kind of talk through it. So first and foremost, those of you that this is the first time that you're here, our BombBomb webinars are all built around conversations. We don't want this to just be Kevin's the talking head. We want you to have some say in this. And there's a couple ways you can do that. A lot of us know Zoom now, so this isn't shocking. But first and foremost, the chat. Hop into chat there. And just make sure that you are throwing stuff out. You can go ahead and just let us know where you're joining us from. We always love to hear that, just to see the wide array of places that people are joining us at. But that's a great place for you to post things that you want other people to see. If you've got questions that you think other people in the community might have answers to, in fact, around this topic, let's use the chat a lot, because there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think you're all going to have some really great value to add to that. The second place is the Q&A section. If you've got a question that you don't want us to miss, pop open that Q&A. I have the amazing James Long that is here, Tier 2 customer care rep, that is helping us out today to answer questions, make sure that you are all taken care of. I always like to put a face to the name, especially with our customer support team that is so kind, so wonderful, so helpful. You actually get to meet one of them now. So James is taking care of a lot of our larger teams and things like that now, but if you've reached out over the last year or two, you've probably talked to him at some point, because he's the best. So James is here helping everybody out. So throw stuff in the Q&A. He'll be keeping an eye on that. And as you can see with the chat, it gets going crazy. So the Q&A is a really good place to put some stuff, just to make sure that we don't miss something that you definitely want us to see. What else do we have? We will be recording this. So we are recording it now, and we will send that out to you. Give us about a day or two to get that email together and get that recording put together and send that out for you. But I know we're going to go over a lot of things. There's always a lot of content, a lot of questions on this. So if you miss anything, don't stress. We will send that recording, and our recordings are always uploaded to bombbomb.com/webinars as well. So you can always find it there. I think that's the main stuff. Without further ado, you can see on my screen here now that I'm sharing this, we have an amazing special guest. If you were with us last October, she hopped on one of our webinars then about rebranding. But Nicole Crane, the COO of BombBomb, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm doing well.
Good. We're so excited that you're here. We keep joking with Nicole. Nicole just moved from Colorado to Florida because the wind apparently we live in Kansas now, in Colorado. I don't know when that happened, but the wind was killing her. So now she moved to Florida, and now she's dealing with the rain. But that's just kind of how it goes, I guess.
All good.
So Nicole, as we're jumping into this, I'm going to go ahead and I'll jump into the agenda in just a second here, but we started bringing up this topic, and you kind of raised your hand as, ooh, this is something I really want to talk about. Give me a little background on that. I know you're part of a local group in Colorado here, but talk us a little bit on your background and some of the things you've learned from AI, just holistically.
Sure. So let's start with that. I was invited to join the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, artificial intelligence strategy program for the executive programs, as they are rolling out this program to help people like me, frankly, figure out how to navigate this new world in terms of what it means for not only your product and how you can use AI within the actual product offering, but also all of the internal workings of a company and process and systems and those things to drive efficiency. So it really is about helping folks learn a little bit more about what does all this stuff mean, and how to talk about it, how to evaluate it, what it could do to your staff. So that's the most recent thing. But honestly, is you look at what BombBomb does, we have opportunity on both sides as well. And for any of, everyone on this call that's using video, the first question that comes to mind is what is happening with video and fakes and synthetic avatars and those things? And how do you know that what you see is real? So yes, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about it, and brought this up. I was like, yeah, I'd love to talk about this more.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be diving into that as we get a little bit deeper into this conversation. I'm cracking up because as you're talking, we're seeing all these chats that are like, hi, I'm an AI assistant helping this person take notes in this recording. It's like, well, there we go, right? AI is literally joining this webinar as we talk through it. So that's awesome. And I remember when we were talking through this course, you were mentioning we've got cybersecurity CFOs, we've got chief privacy officers, we've got people in capital management, VP positions. So this really is a high level group of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking all the same questions that you're asking today. And they're figuring out how does this fit within our business and some of those sort of things. So know that you're not alone. If you're sitting here going, I'm excited, I want to learn, but I don't know a whole lot, guess what? You're in really good company when it comes to this topic. So hopefully we'll clarify some of that. So here's how we're going to go through this today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about and try to give you some definitions around AI. What the heck is this thing? It's a big thing. It's holistic. We're going to stay pretty high level on the definition of it, but we'll give you a few examples as we're walking through this so that you can understand a little bit more. I think a lot of us, you hop on LinkedIn for 5 seconds and you hear AI constantly on there. And all of us are going, well, like, what is this? What does this fit in? Is this in my daily life? Is it not? And yeah, there actually are some examples you're probably using that you don't even know about. So we'll cover that. We're going to talk about how does AI help your business, to what Nicole talked about. It's not just how do we use it in our product, it's how does it make us more efficient? How does it really fit in our workflow? And I think for a lot of us here, that's going to be a really, really good, helpful piece for you to understand. And then we're going to talk about how AI can fit with video. Nicole already just gave a little teaser on some of the stuff we're going to talk about there. And then we're going to give you a little bit of insight of just what are some things BombBomb is thinking about and what are some things and ways that we are approaching this so that you can understand as a video company, how are we navigating this? How are we looking at this? I think there isn't a more pertinent time. I was just reading, I believe it was yesterday or Monday, that Apple just basically signed a huge deal with OpenAI to bring AI into the Apple ecosystem. They're calling it Apple Intelligence. OpenAI is the company that runs ChatGPT, if you're familiar with that. So they've done a lot of that work, and Apple's like, all right, we're in. How will you help us? And they're starting to bring that in, and they did a huge release, this week. So we want to make sure that we're covering this at the right time. So let's jump in and start this with just a quick quote. This is from Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Alphabet, which is, they own Google and lots of other companies, so pretty high up. But I think this really shows the importance of why we need to discuss this and learn about this. Artificial intelligence will have more profound impact on humanity than fire, electricity, and the internet. No, I don't know. Fire was pretty impactful, but you'll hear that's the level of things that we're comparing this to. That's what impact this could really have. I know if you're anything like me, you're thinking about some of the movies that came out with Will Smith battling robots and Robin Williams, becoming friends with it and all those things that we're not there yet, probably thankfully in a lot of ways, but this is how important and how big this kind of thing could become. So let's go ahead and jump in and start talking through a little bit of what AI is. This is a definition that I found that honestly, when Nicole and I were talking, she felt like it matched pretty closely with what her understanding is. But artificial intelligence is the ability of machines or computer systems to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and decision making. It involves creating computer programs or algorithms that can mimic human cognitive functions like learning, understanding language, recognizing patterns, making decisions, solving problems. I know that's a lot, but Nicole, you kind of described this to me in a way of what you think the difference is. What's kind of the simplest terms you can put it in as far as what you think AI is as a whole?
You hit it earlier, Kevin. I think it spans a lot of areas, but AI is applying intelligence and learning to a situation versus repetitive tasks is how I generally think about them. Right. So you also, I think the confusion gets in with machine learning, where you can teach a machine to do a repetitive task more often, whereas AI is a constant evolving, taking more information and using the reasoning to get to an outcome. I kind of view it similar to like self-driving cars, right? That's artificial intelligence. There's a lot happening there in decisioning versus start, stop, left, right.
Sure.
There's a lot more that goes into making that functional than just, a more basic approach. So that's how I think about that. You're going to need AI to do a self-driving car versus not.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking in all that exterior information. You can't just say get here to here and it can do that task. It has to take in everything throughout that
Yes.
process and learn from it in order to successfully get you there, right?
Yep.
So they do consider three different types of AI, and I wanted to introduce these just so you guys see them. The first one is narrow there. They got another term for this is weak AI, but this is a little bit more like what Nicole was talking about, where it's something that is more specific driven. And I'm going to give you some examples of these on the next slide to give you a little bit more context. The next level up is what they call general. So it's really that capacity to comprehend, learn a skill, and do some of those sort of things. We're still at the very, very forefront of this. I was laughing while you were talking, Nicole. Terry wrote in, can you add, it's a little creepy to the definition? Because there is an element that feels weird if these machines are learning things and taking these things. What is that going to mean? And we're gonna talk about that throughout this as well. And then really, super is the third version of AI, and that's kind of the sci-fi version of it, right? Where robots and things are living in our economy and living in our world. And thankfully, I think we're a ways out from a lot of those things. But these are the three different types of classification that you will hear when you're hearing about those. So let's look at some examples of these. Narrow AI is much more what we are understanding right now. So great examples of these, Siri and Alexa. Do they learn some? Absolutely. I have actually heard our Alexa that we have in our house, and she might start talking to me. I have her in my office. We'll see if she starts talking to me as I talk about her more. But my son will talk to her, and Alexa responds with, "Oh, hi, Lydia," which is my wife's name, because he sounds like my wife. They have a similar tone. When I talk, she's learned my voice. That's a little interesting, but she's starting to learn based on the tone of the voice and those sort of things, that who's talking to her. Now, she is built for one thing, answer questions. She pulls information from a database or from a software or something like that, and can give you that information to the best of their knowledge. We all know that they can be really powerful and amazing. We all know that they can be really frustrating, right? So we've all had times where it's like, just do what I'm asking, just answer my question, just play the song, and she can't figure that out. So it's much more narrow in that sense. Self-driving cars, you mentioned that one already, Nicole. Facial recognition, right? All of us have that stuff on here to get into our passwords. It's learning our face. In fact, I've seen as well, even you do the initial graphing of it, and I've noticed that it can also learn and adapt to if I have glasses on sometimes, if I have sunglasses on, if I have a hat on, it still can kind of figure out and work around those. So it's learning some of those things. Very initial version of this, James, you and I were talking about some early versions of AI. Spam filters are a great example of this, of learning what's acceptable, what's not. That's an algorithm that Google, that Yahoo, that Microsoft, that all of them are putting together to try to detect bad email. That's using AI. And guess what? With how fast email moves and how many emails are sent, they are learning. They have to keep up with the new spam stuff, the new bad emails, the malicious content, all of that sort of stuff. So it's keeping up from it. And another great, I thought, really simple, easy one is Netflix or any video program that you're using. Guess what? You have a list of, we think you'll like this content. It's because it's understanding you. It's learning, what have you watched? Here are some things that are similar that you might be interested in. That's using algorithms. That's using some of this content to kind of build that stuff up. Now, the general and super, you can see I put none on there because by the specific definitions of these, there really aren't any that are comprehending the full emotional capacity and some of those sort of things that they define general AI as. I think you look at the narrow one and go, well, some of those are very just specific task driven, and some of those are learning more and more and more. So I think the narrow one has a wider spectrum on this, but I think it's just important and interesting for all of us to know this as we kind of talk about it. Now, with that baseline, you already brought this up a little bit, and Terry put it in there with the creepy element. I think it's really important that we do spend a minute and talk about some of the caution that needs to be happening with this. Nicole, you brought this up when we were talking about some of the things that you were learning, and you mentioned something along the lines of the people who have spent more time in this world seem to be the ones that are showing the most caution with it as well. Is that correct? Explain kind of where that came from when you thought of that idea.
So just in the conversations I've had with the group at UC is you get into, you have it on here, ethical moral dilemmas, and people get really nervous about, because I think you equate it to what you see coming out of Hollywood, and it can take over the world, and or can things be used for nefarious reasons? So it does give people cause. I think where the opportunity is going to be is as more people are spending time discussing and understanding the frameworks that need to go around these things, I think we can maintain the safety as well. The other thing we were talking about a lot a couple of weeks ago was this notion of job displacement, because I think you hear in the news there's a lot of anxiety around, is my job going to get replaced if I bring in AI or robots or any of those things? And what most organizations are seeing is it's actually creating opportunity to replace the repetitive functions or the things that you can have automated, which then frees up mental space and, I mean, frankly, just your time for colleagues to go work on more challenging, rewarding, critical thinking type activities than it is just processing things that we've all, grown up with over the years in our jobs. So I think it's really about getting to the heart of, okay, where's the benefit? And it doesn't always equal cost reduction. In fact, one of the gentleman in the group was telling us he's actually hiring 4 people because he's freed up people to go work on a bunch of other things that is creating initiatives for them to move faster as an organization. So what they're finding is they're just hiring different types of people and expanding their teams versus contracting.
That's so interesting. So with that example of the hiring 4 new people, it sounds like because the people they have are more efficient, it's allowing them to expand and take on more things
Yes.
than they would have otherwise. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, I mean that was his situation, and it's like anything in the absence of all of the knowledge and details, because this is so new and it's changing so quickly. It's easy for humans to go to the negative side of the equation, which is, oh my God, that means I don't have a job. And
Hmm.
after spending more time with this, I also fundamentally disagree with that, and I do think that most people want more satisfaction out of their roles. And we spend a lot of hours doing what we do every day, that if we can sort of augment and get rid of those things that are repetitive and tedious to give people more of an opportunity to be creative and really help contribute in more meaningful ways, I think you're also going to see the overall sort of workforce in an organization become happier.
I think that's so fascinating. And I totally agree. I have found it for me personally with some of my work. I mean, Nicole, you and I have talked about this. Diving into numbers is not always Kevin's best thing to do. So it takes me a while to work through spreadsheets and those sort of things. Now there's things where you can plug them in and go, hey, give me some analytics on this. Give me some trends that you're seeing. It does that mean you shouldn't spend any time looking at it? Of course not, right? We always need to verify and make sure that there's kind of a backup review of that. But holy cow, if within 1 minute, all of a sudden I have specific things highlighted to look for, it's amazing. It saves me so much time and could potentially find things that I might miss in the meantime as well, to help improve the company. You talked about this a little bit as well, Nicole, when we were talking about the human element, like the human in the middle, the human enhanced element of
Hmm.
AI. Do you
Yes.
feel like this fits a little bit? I know we'll talk about that potentially with some video stuff, but do you feel like this fits in that as well, where it's not just AI doing something, it's the human working with AI in that regard?
I do. So what is meant by that, right? So if you think about AI, and a lot of companies and most of us experience, you have like chat bots going into the support team, or you send an email and an automated response comes back. And a lot of this is up to each organization or each person to determine like how far down this path you want to go. And this human in the middle or human enhanced component of it, what it's doing is it could maybe give you instead of just sending the response to your customers, it may stop in that it gives you the email, you look at it and tweak it, and then it goes out, but it's done, say, 80% of the work for you. So there's different ways in which you can use this as well, which I find interesting to meet either the desired result you have as an organization, or however you're trying to, your comfort level, I guess would be a better way to say it.
Yeah.
So you can either, yeah, go all in and have it do as much as you can for you, or you can just have it augment, to your point around, well, it can help me with some data analysis versus just making the decision. You're at least looking at it and adding your own perspective, your own experiences on top of the data,
Yeah.
and use it from that perspective, which still gets to the increased efficiency. You're just
Sure.
sort of putting a guide rail in, if you will, to make sure it's not, all or everything before you're ready.
Yeah, I think that's such a valuable point because it can take a lot of information. I was reading some numbers on how much information these algorithms can take in now. And it's like, if you read a book, I think the number was if you read a book every day, 24 hours a day for the rest of your life, you would read like 500 million words, or is what they, the guesstimate is. Well, guess what? Some of these algorithms can take in over 1 billion words in less than a month right now. So that's crazy. And that's going to continue to get better and better. So they can take in the information. What they can't take in my opinion, is experience. So your 20 plus years of experience in the workforce, Nicole, and the things you've gone through, and that ability to take that into consideration, the bot can't do that quite yet, right? And hopefully never can replace that. I think there's always going to be a human element that a computer or something can never replace. But I think working hand in hand with it and learning that this isn't something to be scared of, it's something to help us be efficient and help us improve certain things is such an important thing. Literally, as you were saying some of that stuff, Terry wrote in the chat, he wrote the word tweak right as you said the word tweak, right? Take some of the content, tweak it a little bit, and then use it. Michael Thorne was actually a guest of ours last year. We did one just on ChatGPT and how he was using OpenAI and ChatGPT. And it was really, really fascinating because I forget exactly the numbers, but essentially he said something of, I'm going to put in all the cues and all the prompts and the things I want, and I'm going to let it do the initial 60% of the work on writing an email, right? Then I'm going to go in, review that, do the next 20 to 30% of the work, reviewing it, personalizing it, making my own. And then I throw it back in to do the last 10% to say, how can this be better? And he goes, it's been a great way for me to really have that human enhanced, that human in the middle element with a lot of these pieces. I thought this was a really interesting one as we're talking about some of the caution and some of the things to be careful of. Jeffrey Hinton, actually, they call him, quote unquote, the godfather of AI. He worked with Google. He worked at, I believe, the University of Toronto as well. But he has been a foundational piece in how Google has built a lot of this stuff over the years. And this was a quote that I found for him. The idea that this stuff could actually get smarter than people, a few people believed that, but most people thought it was way off. I thought it was way off. I thought it was 30 to 50 years or even longer away. Obviously, I no longer think that. The reason he says obviously is he just quit Google and said, I don't know if I'm comfortable with being a part of this anymore. So I need to take a step back because I don't know. There's also been some stuff, I believe it was over 100 CEOs and company owners that signed off something saying we need more regulation on this as it continues to grow. So know that. I think there are some very legitimate concerns with as this stuff gets smarter, but know that a lot of the people who are building this and working on this, while they want to be successful and at the forefront, are also thinking about the things we need to be careful with as well. So there's that oversight.
In fact, to that point, Kevin, it was the EU back in March just passed some of the earlier legislation as it pertains to AI. I mean, we've seen this before in the privacy data space when GDPR came out. What was that, 7-8 years ago? EU was kind of first there because I think they're a little bit more regulatory than we are. Generally, the US tries to go for self-regulation, but everything is pointing to the direction of legislation and what you do with data that's collected, and especially some of the industries we service, when you think about how compliant they are, whether it's financial services and others, there's going to have to be some oversight and rules around how this stuff is deployed so you don't end up in taking advantage of people, frankly. I mean, it happens. People are always going to find a way around it, but I do think that, as most organizations proceed, they're paying attention to these things as well.
Yeah, which is so important with those big companies that are making these big strides right now. Yep. So that's so great to see. So let's talk about some specific business solutions that could be interesting to you. I have done a ton of research. Does that mean I've seen everything that AI has to offer? Absolutely not. There is more stuff out there. I can promise and guarantee that. But I have learned about a ton of different programs and things. And these were just some ones that stood out to me that I think could be really interesting for you to know about. And I'm going to give you direct product names. Now, I want you to know this does not mean I am endorsing. This does not mean I'm saying go sign up and pay money. This is more to just get your brain thinking, get the light bulbs going in your brain of, oh my gosh, I'd never really thought about it like that. I didn't know that was capable. Some of those sort of pieces as we go through this. So let's talk about this. I put them in some general kind of categories here. The first one is saving time. I think all of us would love to save time with certain tasks. Nicole, you were talking about that, just being efficient in different ways. And there's some really cool ones. I bet there's one on here that a couple on here that you guys recognize. Grammarly is a huge app right now. It's a huge add-on that you can download on your Chrome extension, and it reviews your writing as you're writing it. And they are allowed into a vast majority of the websites and programs that I have been in now, where you literally type a Gmail email out and it will give you recommendations of this could be worded a little bit nicer. Oh, we misspelled this. It's basically live spell check based on the things that you're writing right now. It's an amazing tool. I've actually had it. It was one of the early ones I've had for a few years now. I don't think I necessarily associated it as AI at the time when I downloaded it. I use it constantly in everything I'm writing. And of course, there's free versions. You can also pay up for it and get some different things and get that where they'll literally say like this sentence could be worded a little bit more clearly. And you're like, wow, that's crazy, right? But it's helpful and it makes you come across in a really, really nice way rather than having to write, copyright, finally get an email right, and then send it out. And that just took you forever. Now, of course, you can also do video, right? And we can record the video and say it and have fun and have that context in as well. But that's a really cool one that will help you. If grammar is not your thing, look up Grammarly. It's awesome. One that I found, UiPath is actually it's a bigger company. They have a whole, what's the word? Like a whole area of different things where people are writing different AI stuff and building different things. One that I found that was really interesting was called Clipboard AI. What it does is it allows you to take an image and it can copy all of the text and content off that image and put it into a document or put it into an Excel spreadsheet. If somebody sent you a picture of a graph, we'll say, and it's got, a table with different things on it, you can literally take that, upload it into Clipboard AI, and it'll put it into an Excel spreadsheet for you. This is a perfect example of those mundane tasks where it's like I'm sitting here looking at this picture, copying things into cells and doing that stuff. Is that the best place to use your time? Probably not. This is kind of that repetitive work where there's cool things out there that can kind of take care of that. ChatGPT is obviously one that a lot of people know about. I've started using it more and more and more. And I will tell you the one thing I have learned with ChatGPT is if you want it to be effective and helpful for you, it's all about how you have conversations with it. Ironically enough, that sounds crazy. We're talking to a computer system. But the better your prompts are, the more clear you are with what you want back, the voice that you want, the tone that you want. There's also all sorts of systems where you can write a prompt and have it saved and just reuse it time and time again. So ChatGPT is obviously a really helpful one. I wrote on here, there's also an app called ChatGPT Writer, and it's a Chrome extension that you can add into your email, into your systems, where you can click a button and it will help you with that live in the system that you're already working on. I do believe you do have to pay a little bit for that on a monthly fee, but it's bringing that capabilities that ChatGPT has into your system and making it a little bit more streamlined. And then last but not least is Microsoft Copilot. If you are a Microsoft user and you live in that world, oh my gosh, this thing is incredible. It does so many things. You can see there, it connects to the whole suite of Microsoft. So it can analyze spreadsheets. It can make full-blown PowerPoint presentations, right? It can actually just make them for you. You give it some prompts. Here's the stuff. Here's what I want it to do. And it builds it for you. It can transcribe notes from live meetings, similar to some of the AI bots that we saw in here in the chat. It literally can take notes for you. And what was really cool is it can schedule action items for you of what are the follow-up things, what are the next steps, and it'll schedule those on. And then, of course, you can use it for replying through emails through Outlook and doing some automated stuff there. So it's called Copilot if you want to look that up. I don't live in the Microsoft universe as much, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert in that one, but the capabilities and the potential of this are really, really incredible from that standpoint. Nicole, do you use any of these? Do you use Grammarly or any of those kind of in your daily basis at all?
I've used Grammarly and I use ChatGPT. Those are the ones mostly. And then there's newer ones I've been sort of playing with it, probably not as advanced, but like Motion and others that help manage calendars and trying to be efficient with where you spend your time. I've started poking around with that one. I probably live in the Microsoft suite more than most just because of the amount of Excel sheets and things that I'm
Oh
spending
gosh.
time on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to absolutely go try this one out to see if it can save me some time there too.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And Google has its own version. It's called Google Labs, where you can literally just type in, I believe, I think I have it on a slide coming up, labs.google. If you live in that world, of course, they're massive. They're building a lot of this stuff too, right? So I'm going to give you one company that does it. There's probably other companies that use it as well. So don't take this as like, this is the only direction you can go. But there's some really, really cool stuff there. And motion is really interesting. I don't remember if I added that to this or not, but if anybody has ever seen Nicole's calendar, she needs this product more than anybody I've ever met. It is just top to bottom, just craziness. So Motion does cool things of if a meeting gets canceled, it'll automatically rework your day to be the most efficient it can possibly be. And it'll tell you when you can fit work times in and when you can do other things like that. So there's some really interesting, cool stuff there. Efficiency, similar to saves time, but I've actually started using some of these. And here's Google Labs. So if you want that, you can just type in that in your browser or do labs.google, and I'm sure it'll get you there as well. But there's some really interesting ones that I've started using. One is the Arc web browser. So it is a transition to a new web browser that I know I actually personally have not done because I like Chrome. I'm used to it. I like my safe space there. But it does some really neat things where it can evenly split out different windows that you're on. It also organizes your tabs into different categories and things. So if you're somebody that's got the 55 little teeny tabs all the way across, it can literally organize those based on category, and then you can go in and find them and just be able to, rather than the click through until you find the one that you want to do. Now, I'm a very low tab person in my own life, so I haven't had to use that as much, but I've seen some people share their screens before, and my brain breaks a little bit with the amount of tabs on there. So that's a cool one, right? Just be more efficient, save you time in hunting, and have it be a little bit more organized. One that I have started using a lot is Perplexity. Perplexity really takes away that pain of kind of the Google search thing, right? We know that when we put in a Google search now, we're going to get at least 4 or 5 ads up at the top that they're paying money for and that they want us to find them first. So you kind of have to go like, do I want those? I don't know. I'm going to scroll down past those. And then you're scrolling through just so much content. Now, I think Google's amazing. I'm not talking bad about them in the slightest. But Perplexity is really good for if you have a question. You can type in the question itself, and it will actually summarize all of the websites that it found. It will give you a few at the top that you can click on and look at, but it'll summarize them into kind of a succinct answer and give you an overview and a summary of this. So you don't have to click and read all these different articles. It does that for you. It's really cool. I actually noticed since I downloaded Perplexity, Google used to have their own version of this that they were testing out. It was called Google SGE. And they've now thrown that live into Google search. So if you search in Google, the top thing you'll see says like AI answer to it. And this is kind of their version of that as they're playing with this stuff too. So again, it's just trying to make it a little bit simpler for you in those regards and make you more efficient with your searches and with some of those pieces. Yeah, Dana, you said you've noticed that. Really cool. I've actually started, it just simplifies the amount of time you have to hunt to find those answers that you're looking for when you jump in there. Let's throw some design stuff in because I think this is where AI gets a little more fun for me. I think there's efficient stuff, there's the stuff that saves you time, and then there's kind of just I literally put a slide on here that's just cool things because I was like, I just want to tell people about these because they're fun. There are no joke systems algorithms right there. I put one 10web.io and then Durable that you put in text prompts, put in information, and it can build you a basic formula of a website. Have you ever built a website and known how long it takes to do that? Even if you're using a Wix or one of those systems that are pretty great. I've used them to build websites before too. We're still talking weeks and weeks and hours and hours and hours of work to get that to a place that you're happy with. This can literally build you the framework for a website in minutes. Now, do you build that and then go live? No, please don't. Please review that, read it, but it's amazing how it starts to throw images in, it starts to throw content in, it starts to throw text and different things that you could be in there. And somebody had written earlier, the hardest part about projects like this typically is the start, is where do I begin? How do I start this? If you can take that starting point and literally just build it from scratch instantly, oh my gosh, really, really cool, really powerful. And then you can go in and edit it. And it's got built-in SEO, it writes the copy for you, it does all of those things to give you a startup. So really, really cool. Another one that's fun that I've actually played with, and I'll show you this one a little bit, is Gamma. It's gamma.app. And it's similar to the PowerPoint, but if you don't use PowerPoint, then you can't use the Microsoft Copilot. So this gives you the ability to hop in, and I'll see if I actually have this saved up and loaded for us. But I literally put in a text prompt that just said, I want to build a 3-slide presentation about a webinar that I'm hosting around AI. And it put this 3 slides together in, I think, 30 seconds. Now, does that mean I haven't gone through and reworked a lot of this? What's really interesting about this program is you can come into this section where you can edit with AI and you can type in all sorts of things. Like if I don't want those outdoor pictures, I can say, I actually want pictures of an office to use in this. And it will give me a few options that I can take. And then I literally just drag that in and go, cool, I like that better. Now I'm done. Oh my gosh, I'm not Googling office pictures for 10 minutes to try and find one that I have permission to use and do all this stuff. Like, wow, that is so efficient. And for somebody who builds slide decks and does things like this a lot, what a cool way to start. And you can actually, similar to a PowerPoint where you can put your brand in and your logo in, you can do a similar thing with that so that it represents your colors, your hex codes, your logos, your brands, you know, some of those sort of things. So I don't, have you played with any of those kind of design style ones at all, Nicole? I don't know how much you've taken a deep dive into any of those.
I have not, but now that I'm looking at this, given that I started creating a deck this morning for an internal meeting for us tomorrow. I'm like, oh, I found a better way to do this immediately. And I think, yes, there's all sorts of things like this that'll, I think, help all of us. And as much as I sit here and go, well, what does this do to people who build websites and designs? I'd still rather have them thinking about bigger issues that'll help us. So,
well, and I think to the human-centered element of this, imagine if you were a web designer and you could take 40 hours of work that you're taking and have a starting point.
yes.
I think that's the difference between looking at AI as I have to compete against this and going, how does AI make me better at my work kind of mentality.
Yes.
Right?
It kind of is moving a lot of those industries from a pay by the hour to pay for value, right? Because a lot of things that you could do maybe faster, but you're still getting the value of the thinking and, like, to your point, and once you get the baseline, how do you evolve it from there into something that's, you know, far better? So I do think we're going to start to see some changes in a lot of the service industries, and, like, in this case, agencies that build sites. Like, it's going to change how we engage business to business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if we're on the forefront learning this stuff and asking these questions now, we're going to be the ones that are benefiting the most from it because we're kind of learning these things rather than the ones that fight it forever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to do this now. Yeah, there's some other levels. So here's some stuff that I just found from a marketing perspective. Now there's marketing is a big umbrella in the context that I use it here. The first one is text.com. If you're somebody that does a lot of social media marketing and a lot of communication on social media, one of the pain points is I've got to remember to log into all my different ones and check all my messages and do all the things and reply to people. And I know companies that, you know, smaller businesses that really lean into their social content. Text.com actually gives you the opportunity to bring all of your social medias, your DMs, all that stuff into one place. So it is a $15 a month fee for it. But when you start to think about the efficiency and the amount it can save you time in responding to people, you can also pre-write content that you want to save for the future. So if you have replies to specific questions, we talk about FAQ videos a lot within the BombBomb world. Same kind of idea, right? This is a text-based version of it, but it just gives you one place to log into. It's similar to the name is escaping me right now, but there's also those sites that will do that for your social media posting, where you go in and you schedule everything out within this one site, and it'll post it to Instagram, to Facebook, to Snapchat, to TikTok, all these different things. It'll schedule it out over the week. And I don't remember the name of it. If anybody knows it, yeah, Hootsuite. There it is. Chip threw it in there for me. Really cool. If social media is a way that you are marketing a lot, it's you know, those are great ways that you can be really efficient with that. Again, so that you're not spending time doing the things that are not the most beneficial for you. We can streamline that a little bit. Now, image creation is a really, really interesting topic because there is a lot of stuff in this right now. ChatGPT, if you have the pro version, actually has DALL-E 3, which you literally can just type in a sentence and it will create an image for you. It's usually, I think, from my perspective in using it, I think it's really fun to use. They are a little bit more cartoonish. They're not necessarily like replacing real humans and those sort of things. But I was working on a deck the other day and I was like, I want to have somebody that's frustrated with processes and they're feeling overwhelmed with the concept of using video. And I typed that in and I got this image of a woman who was like really frustrated and all these graphics were around her head. And it was cool. It was fun. It was a really interesting way that took me 15 seconds to now kind of ramp up the visual nature of that. Now, again, there are a lot of image creation ones. Adobe Firefly, if you work in the Adobe world at all, oh my gosh, Adobe's incredible and big and overwhelming to a lot of people. But I actually did a fun one, Nicole. I don't know if you got a chance to look at this. I took Nicole's headshot and threw it into Adobe, and you can do image expansion where you literally make the image bigger around it. So the image of her was smaller, and then you can choose what do you want that background to be. And since Nicole moved over to Florida, I took her headshot and I put her in a nice little beachside bar here in Florida. And it was just like, this was just fun. This is not necessarily something that makes me way better at my job, but a really just fun thing. Like I would never look at that and go, oh, that's fake. She's not sitting at that bar. Sure, if we analyze it enough, we might be able to find little holes, but it's fun. Like, it's just kind of a funny thing. So there's some really cool things that Firefly has where you can expand images. You can take backgrounds out of images. Those of you that especially work in the Android, you have an Android mobile app. I mean, the stuff where you can erase people out of the background of your image, those are all AI tools that you're using that are giving you the ability to kind of do some of that stuff. There's also a really cool one that I've run into if you are doing a lot of marketing content with image quality. If you have a picture, you have something you want to use, but it's a little grainy, maybe you're trying to expand it larger and it's just not working. There's really cool processes now that can upscale that image to make it a much better quality piece of content so that you can use it more and more and more. So again, this is a wide range of different things you can do with it, but just some fun ones. So I'll throw this in, and then I would love to hear from you, Nicole, some of the ones that maybe have been the most beneficial. I know you threw out some that you've played with a little bit, but some ones that you maybe have to recommend. But these are ones that I just found that I was like, wow, that's fascinating. One is Hume.ai. You can upload a video into the system, and it will analyze the emotions being expressed by the person in that. And it builds this kind of spider web of graphs of they're feeling this here, they're doing this at this time point. And it gives you this overview of just like what this person might be going through throughout this video. Holy cow, like that was really, really crazy and fun. And I don't necessarily have a business strategy around it, but it feels kind of interesting. Voice mod was an interesting one. You can actually, it can add voice modules to your live microphone. So if I have this app, I could add a funny voice, or I could do a whole bunch of noise removal. I could do a lot of things like that, and then choose it as my microphone in Zoom and use that as my microphone now. It's still using my actual physical microphone, but it's adding these modifications to it to make me sound more crisp, to make me sound, you know, whatever way I want to use it. So really cool stuff there. And then the last one I'll throw there is there's a lot of really neat song generation stuff. So somebody actually talked about it when I initially had you all hop in here. I was playing a song, and guess what? I made that through Suno. I literally typed in, I need an upbeat song that welcomes people to a webinar, happy notes, feel good, gets people excited to be here. And you can, it will write lyrics for it. You can do instrumental, you can do all sorts of fun things. It gives you a couple different versions, and then you can come in and play. I think for those of us that do video on a regular basis, it can be really powerful for the background stuff, for different content like that, if you're doing more marketing style videos. Now, the simple, authentic videos like we're doing through BombBomb, you probably won't add those things in. But just a really neat thing that I was shocked at how quickly and how efficiently it worked. And if you want to play with that, it's called Suno. And it was totally free. So you can hop in and kind of build stuff as you want to. But you can play with it. And yeah, Chris, you're talking about how it's fun to send stuff to friends. Yeah, I'm thinking about like funny birthday videos. What a way to connect with people on a different level. Hey, I wrote this song for you real quick. And you send it to them. Have some fun with it. So those are just some ones that I have found that could benefit you in different ways. Do you have any favorites that you have kind of leaned on and relied on at all, Nicole, as you've gone through this course and learned more about it?
It isn't so much about the tools in the course, but the ones that I use, like the speech to text one is one of my favorite because I'm not a fan. And then the reverse, like I absolutely hate checking voicemail. So these are the really basic ones that have been around for a while. I'm a fan of those.
Okay.
And again, anything on the project management, scheduling efficiency is where I've spent some time. Honestly, the rest of these right now is really trying to get more background on, and you say background, but understanding this world of synthetic people, fake, like in the video space,
Mm,
really where, what does that mean for us as an organization?
yeah.
And then the other one I haven't done a lot with this, but I've just started when it comes to financial investing, right? Depending, you can have it sort of load up with risk tolerance and things you like, and it can actually help recommend different things for you to pay attention to from an investment side, because I mean,
Mm,
it's time consuming if you do it the old fashioned way, right? But if you
sure.
can get something to help you do a quick analysis and guidance, it's actually kind of fun. I'm
Yeah.
by no means at expert level, but it's one of those things you put your toe in the water and see what you can do with it.
I think that's such an interesting thing about this conversation as a whole is you can really at this point there are things that can do as deep a stuff as you want to dive into. I've used ChatGPT in funny ways of just going, here's my grocery list. Will you organize it by department so I can look for these in this specific department in the grocery store? It just made my life a little bit easier. Or I've even done it where I uploaded, we want to make these 3 recipes this week. Will you list out all the ingredients and how much of each I need to get to be able to do that? And it does it for me. It's like, oh my gosh, does that are those things I could probably have done without? Totally. But wow, it made it a heck of a lot easier. When I got 3 kids in the grocery store yelling at me and I'm trying to remember to get everything, the easier that can be, the better. I promise I will end up with the right thing. So let's talk about this a little bit. I am going to go through some specific AI video pieces because obviously we're a video company and I think a lot of people that follow us are interested in that. But I feel like you've teased it a couple of times, this kind of synthetic video concept, this, I don't even know if they're called bots or what the right term is, but essentially the idea that I could have a video of me talking that's not really me talking. It's like a Kevin bot.
Hmm.
What are your kind of overall thoughts on this, Nicole? I'm just curious what on a high level, you can go as deep as you want into that answer, I guess.
On the surface, it seems weird and creepy, but I'm a fan of, I think there's a place for all of it. I think the key is being transparent about
Mm,
what's being used when, right? So if you're on the receiving end, there's no question, is it real or fake? And where my mind goes is, think about if this was, here's a real world example. Our CEO sends out updates every Friday, right? He takes time, makes a video, talks about some key things in the business and sends them out. If we were to find out that that wasn't really him sending the video, I think most of us would sort of raise an eyebrow and be like, how does that fit in an organization that, drives human connection and values relationships? We might all become a little cynical and suspect
yeah.
around the leadership team. But if, there was a time and place for a video that was, updated as part of, say, employee onboarding, maybe that we just had to tweak a message, there might be a place for that.
Hmm.
Um, like training videos, those things, but being clear about it wasn't the person doing it. Whereas if you get a video and I know absolutely, Kevin, that it's you speaking to me, there's research that shows that eye contact, even in a video, creates human connections and those things that we as humans are pre-programmed for. You just got to be careful about how you proceed down that path. But certainly as an organization, I mean, we use some of this now in our chat bots for the support team. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? Because we all know why it's there and how it's used, and you can always sort of take the off ramp to talk to a person. So that's kind of, my philosophy is just be upfront and transparent about how you're using it and when you're using it. And I think the person on the receiving end will make their own decisions or come to their own conclusions about good or
Sure.
bad.
Yeah, there can't be a universal, this is what everyone's going to feel on any of this, right? Like we're all
Right.
going to have different feelings. I think that transparency is key, is the quickest way for me to lose trust with somebody is to feel like they're trying to fool me or trick me. And
Exactly.
and I still feel like at this point, I actually just saw some stuff on LinkedIn the other day of some of these bots where they had gone in and recorded themselves. They look really good. I could tell pretty quickly. I was like, something's a little off. Something just doesn't look right because I knew the person. And the second I saw that, I was like, now can I even trust any of the other videos that are coming through? It just makes me question a lot of things.
It
They were
does.
trying to fool it. They were putting a video out to be like, how do you feel about this? What do you think? Is this cool? Is this not? But I think that's really, really important. We always talk about this with emails. Every email, every video you send is training somebody, should they open the next one? Should they watch the next one? And I think it is people will decide pretty quickly if they don't feel like they can trust your videos, I'm just not even going to watch them anymore. And that's where we have to be really careful is could there be a way to use some of this and be effective with it? Absolutely. There's not a universal rule, but we really need to allow people to know that, be transparent with it so that they can trust it.
Well,
So
and you hit on a good point there, Kevin. I mean, trust is kind of a cornerstone of business, right? If you as a consumer don't trust who you're conducting business with, you're not coming back.
yeah.
And I think that is one of those things we have to keep top of mind as well, because yeah, I'm the same way. As the minute I'm hit that point, there's no going back.
Oh, I joke all the time when I go into a store and I really needed to buy something and I didn't trust the person that was trying to sell me. So I just left and didn't buy anything. And then I walk into a store where I don't actually need something, love the salesperson. I'm like, yes, we're great. I walk out with a fridge or something that I
Yeah,
really didn't
you
need.
felt really bad and you wanted to do something, so you bought it.
Yeah, they schmoozed me. They got me because I trusted them. So it's an important thing. So let me just show you a couple of things that I found that I think can be really, really powerful tools to work and retain the human element that video provides, but also make your videos more efficient, make you more effective. CapCut is a really, really powerful tool. I think I've seen somebody talk about this a little bit earlier in the chat, earlier in this conversation. It's a full video editor, so you can do all the normal editing things that you want to, but they also have some really, really cool things where you can remove the background out of your video. If you have ever spent time, James, you're going to nod incessantly to this, where you're trying to mask a moving thing in a video so that you can remove and run stuff behind it and do different things behind that image. It is one of the most time-consuming things I have ever done, especially if you're not an expert editor. I'm sure, James, you could probably do it quicker than I could. But CapCut, literally, you highlight it, you select the video, you say remove background, and it can highlight me. It allows you to select you, and it takes everything out behind it. Really cool, right? If you need to do something like that, if you record a video that you won't send because you don't like your background, whatever it may be, really, really awesome there. They've got some smart tools. There's the remove background where you can retouch a video and retouch some imaging stuff, which is really neat. You can reframe, which is really cool if you're trying to use one video in multiple places. We know that I'm not going to use this, landscape video and throw it on TikTok. It's just not going to look very good there. Well, now you can reframe it and select the person, the object that you want it to follow, and it will reframe it throughout the video around that object. That's incredible. I can make this video tiny to fit on a screen, and now it's reframing around me. So there's some really cool pieces like that. The other one that I thought was really, really neat, and I think it was this button. I don't remember which button it was. Oh, here it is. They have an option where you can do transcript-based editing. So you can choose the language, have it transcribe it, and we'll see how quickly it does it. This is a little bit longer of a video. So this is literally all of my transcription from that video. They have a really, really cool thing up here that says identify filler words and speech gaps. You can come in and it found 12 filler words for me, and it can select those and just edit them completely out of the video. That's wild. Now, I'm a huge proponent of, I don't think ums are that bad. I think ums and things can humanize us. They can connect us with people. So don't feel like you have to be perfect. You're not going to be. But if you're somebody that just really wants to record and get videos out and you just can't stop saying or right or like, and it's just driving you crazy, you're retaking 15 times, this could be a really cool tool for you to use. And you can also select, I want speech gaps longer than X gap to be removed. It can do that stuff. So this is how they're using AI in a really, really interesting way. Actually, I just saw, Terry, does it just silence the ums? No, it literally cuts them out. So it cuts like that tiny segment of the video out and just jumps really quickly. And I was shocked at how good it looks, to be honest. There could be some, if it's an that you wait for a while and then change positions, it might jump weird, but there's some cool stuff there. They also do voice isolation. You can relight, you can do color correction. They have a relighting system in there where you can select where the locations of the light are on your backdrop. Really cool stuff. So if you're somebody that's really wanting to ramp your videos up and take them just from these simple ones, you're using them for different marketing purposes, that could be a really neat one. If you're somebody that's doing more live content, like these kind of webinars where you're doing stuff, NVIDIA Broadcast is a really one where you can literally do live video enhancement. So it's a plugin to a lot of the Zooms, the Microsoft Teams, those sort of things. But you can do video noise removal. You can improve the lighting quality. You can have it auto frame where as I move around, it like reframes and keeps me in the center of it. My camera's not actually moving. It's just adjusting with me. And room echo removal, noise removal, those sort of things. So if you ever have to host a webinar and you're in a really loud place, something like that could be a really, really cool tool as far as that goes. The last one I want to touch on, actually, I might have one more real quick. I want to touch on Sora because it really goes with some of the stuff we were talking about. This is the most powerful video creation tool I have seen to date. It literally takes text and creates a video out of it. I'm going to show you an example of some of the videos that have been created just from text because I want you to see the power of this. There's some creepy elements of it, and there's some amazing elements of this. So just watch this little clip here because I think it's really, really powerful to see what's going on out there right now. It is blowing my mind that that's not a real human being. That is wild to me. So you can see that was a long prompt. They put a lot of stuff in, but there is literally stuff. I think for me, thinking of from a video creation standpoint, I think of B-roll content. What a great way to grab B-roll content to edit into stuff for marketing videos that you can put in there. But oh my gosh, none of that was actually any real video footage at all. It was all created based on the stuff. So there's some just really cool, powerful things out there that you could use for content like that. So let's finish with this. And then I know some of you have asked, okay, so what's happening with BombBomb? So I want to give Nicole and you a little space on just some of the things that we're thinking about in this realm. But I wanted to throw this up there as well for some questions you guys can ask about how could AI fit into my workflow and into my business. We've talked about a lot of these things throughout, but what tasks do I spend time on that feel draining to me, that don't feel like they're life-giving? That's an opportunity to look at that. Where could I spend more energy if I had more time? Okay. Just to Nicole's point of that boss that was able to hire 4 new people because they were able to expand the stuff they're working on. Great opportunity to find that efficiency. How are people in my industry using it? What are some of the weaknesses for me in running my business? When you run a small business, you cannot be great at everything. There's no way. My wife runs an interior design company. She didn't get into that because she loves accounting. No, she got into it because she loves design. So what are some different ways you can use these things to make you efficient in what you do? I think it would just be really, really cool to kind of consider some of those. So these are just some questions for you to think about as you're considering some of those things. So Nicole, I'll give you the floor a little bit and take this whatever direction you want. I know people are curious. Are we looking at putting AI into BombBomb at all? But I know you have been looking about it from the company running standpoint. So what are some questions and conversations you've been having lately about that?
So the short answer is yes. I think the key is, do you just run to put things in that appear to be AI or not? But there are things that I would say are going to be table stakes. So script writing, helping generate subject lines that can be tested for open rates. The one that you picked up on that you liked, and the other one is like the filler word, helping with that. Because I mean, let's face it, we all do that a little bit when we're making videos, unless you're a well-trained speaker. So those are like the lower end of the table stakes. We have to do them. It makes everybody's life easier. And some of those are already on the product roadmap. And then there's the more advanced things like authenticating a video as human, right? We talked about that earlier. That is absolutely something that we're putting a lot of research and thought behind. Like, how do we make that happen in the real world and how quickly? Because this is, I mean, we all talk about the technical, sort of evolution and how quickly it's gone. I think the world of AI is exponentially faster and keeping up with the changes. So that's probably our biggest hurdle to overcome, is being able to put, I equate it to the good housekeeping seal of approval, that if you get a stamp of BombBomb, it's an actual human in the video. and tackling those things. And there's probably a handful of things in the middle as well, but those are definitely things that are on our roadmap today.
Which I love that. And for those of you that have been bomb bombers for a while, you know that we lean nonstop into the humanization. We believe wholeheartedly that a human talking to another human is the most powerful thing. Building relationships, building that trust, building that connection is really what the power of video is. So we don't want you to sit here and think we are running from that because now we can do deep fake videos. That is not our goal in the slightest, is to do that. We really want to make sure that we're using AI to make your videos more impactful, make them more effective, but we are never, well, I won't speak out of turn. I don't see us removing the human from it altogether. That we believe in that wholeheartedly, that's what we've built our company on. And that's why I think we build such great relationships and great communities with people like yourselves. So keep your eyes open. There are stuff that are already on our product roadmap, like Nicole said. So we will definitely keep you in the loop with that stuff as things come out. Let's finish off real quick here with another quote, and then I'll tease next month for you. But AI is like electricity. Just as electricity transformed every major industry a century ago, AI is now poised to do the same thing. And that's Andrew, who's the founder of the Google brain. So obviously he's spent some time on AI. So I hope this gave you some new things to think about, some stuff to consider, hopefully gave you a little bit better understanding of what can AI do, what are some capabilities there. We have an amazing webinar next month. We have a special guest, Anna Mace, who wrote a book about the 2 R's in conversion. And no, that's not a typo with the 2 R's in there. She actually, that is the title of the book. She did it that way. It's an acronym of how she's using different tools. She comes from a marketing background. It's how to really build a system that converts more of those leads and brings more of those people to you to have more opportunity in selling that. And guess what? Video is a piece of that. So we want to partner with her. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and head over to bombbob.com/webinars, and we'll have that sign up page. You can sign up. And of course, we'll send out the emails and get you going there. This has been a quiet Q&A because I know it's been a lot of outside of BombBomb stuff that we've been talking about. So James, thank you for taking that and running with that. Thank you all for all the chats that you're throwing in. I know I'm going to review that and look at that since I didn't get a chance to review as much of that as we were talking as I always would like to. We love getting your feedback and learning how we can take all of that to improve everything that we're moving on. Nicole, thank you for all of your expertise, and you've gone through courses and learned things and used stuff that, you know, a lot of the rest of us haven't. So I really appreciate you bringing that to light. That was so wonderful. I learned new things, which was great.
So fun.
Yeah, it's great. And it's always good for you guys to get to meet more people here at BombBomb. So now you're meeting the higher ups. You're meeting the really important people who are making the good decisions. So,
yeah.
Hopefully you all enjoyed that. Please reach out to us if there's any way that we can help you. People just like James are there to make sure that we are answering your questions, keeping you on the forefront of everything. Otherwise, we'll see you next month. I'm going to finish out with the song, just like I promised everybody, so you can hear that song that we made in Suno. Enjoy it. Have a wonderful rest of your month. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.